Hello, I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and you are watching Tom Talks Rubbish. It's the place for interviews, wrestling reviews, and so much more.
You subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish. I highly recommend you subscribe here first.
You just approve it for me. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by Zane from Wrestling with Wregret. So how are you doing today, Brian?
Hello, Tom. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, thanks. Today's been good so far. Good start to the week, and hopefully the momentum will continue.
Definitely. Like, as I say this all the time. I've been very busy lately, but I'd rather be busy than bored.
Yes, I've definitely been busy for sure. Like, this is my first full week back home in almost 3 weeks, because first I was on vacation, which was nice. And then I was on a work trip for ROH, and I came back on like a Wednesday afternoon, and now I'm back here. So first full week, I'm definitely about to hit the ground running with my work.
Mm-hmm. So we'll get into all that in a second, because I know we only have a limited time because of your busy schedule, right?
Yes, but I think we can get a lot of information packed into a half-hour interview for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So if we take this back, I heard you say in a previous interview that because I'm not going to go into how you became a wrestling fan, because I feel like you've covered that on your own channel. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you, by the way, because lots of people ask that question, and I feel that like a lot of people ask that question. So kudos to you for not going to that one.
Okay. So I heard you say in a previous interview that you made Wrestling with Regret to pop the boys, so to speak. Was that when you were a wrestler or when you were a manager?
Well, I've been a manager since 2007, so it's been most of my time like in the biz, if you want to call it that. And so, I was a few years into, at that point I was a few years into wrestling and performing in the Reno, Nevada, Northern California area. And so I had a good relationship with a lot of these friends who like in wrestling who didn't seem to take it like as seriously as, the people up in Oregon. And that's not a bad way. I don't mean it in a negative way of saying not taking it seriously. Yeah. Not taking wrestling so seriously that you're not allowed to have fun. And that is a culture that I didn't really understand until coming down to the NorCal area and seeing wrestlers being good in the ring and still able to have fun and still able to draw crowds and stuff. So I really kind of fell in love with that aspect of it, the panto and the more comedy stylings and whatnot. So I've always been kind of a fan of the comedic side of wrestling the longer I've been doing it. And so I figured, I'll do something that like I can appreciate and do something that my friends in wrestling can also appreciate, the ones who can appreciate the more outlandish and the silly things in wrestling. That's kind of why I made the channel.
Yeah. So if we're being completely honest, did you make Wrestling with Regret to become, and this sounds so douchey and corny when I say it, but famous on YouTube, or was it more for yourself and your fellow wrestling friends?
That's a good question. I think like when I started the YouTube channel, I didn't think that it was going to ever blow up. I thought, it'd be nice if it happened, but I wasn't going to, put all my stock in myself like a year in and think that this is going to be the future. It wasn't until a few years passed and I started actually kind of like getting a following and making serious money that I thought, this could be a full-time thing. So when I first started the channel, it was just, kind of a hobby. I basically saw it as, the Nostalgia Critic, I thought at the time was that format was awesome. No one was doing anything with wrestling with it. And I thought if no one else is going to do it, then I will. And that's kind of why I created the channel, was just to basically place a bet on myself that I could do it. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay. So if we take this back to when you first set up the channel, was it based purely on nostalgia and like reviewing older shows and older content, shall we say? Or was it weekly shows right off the bat?
Well, it was never, when I first started doing the channel, it was like one video a week, and it was in that Nostalgia Critic style. or angry video game nerd style, and it was just about some funny thing from the past. And so then as time went on and the channel got bigger and the way YouTube channels go about making content evolved in those first few years, that's when I realized that, oh, I can't just rely on the nostalgic stuff anymore. I have to do more things that are current and, you know, timely. And so for a while, like originally I swore up and down I was never going to be a weekly Raw review person, or, you know, the pay-per-view reviews came really late, you know, in the trajectory of the channel. And then the Raw and SmackDown ones kind of came from there, and it just became kind of a matter of necessity to cover those. So I like to think that this channel covers a lot of things from the past, but it always kind of like dipping its toe more into the present, which I think is kind of funny because like you see a lot of other channels now on YouTube that started out as more focused on news and current events and stuff with wrestling. Now them as trying to find additional content is going back into the past and back into the well of like these storylines and these pay-per-views and stuff from a bygone era. And so I think that's pretty funny how, you know, how YouTube works and how channels all kind of evolve in different ways. But in the case of wrestling channels, we all kind of pick from the same overall, you know, crop.
Yeah. So when it came to, or when it comes to, shall I say, like what I would call your mini documentaries that you do every week, or mockumentaries maybe, because you make, I'm trying not to sound disrespectful. So if I
no, it's fine. It's like I call my channel and my content a great manner of things, you know. I
like,
call this office a shed because it technically is a shed, but there's nothing wrong with it being a shed. It's just it's a refurbished shed. But
no. But like what I mean by mockumentaries is you'll take a subject and find the jokes in them almost.
Mhm.
When pursuing or reviewing that subject, do you have researchers that work for you, or are you literally a one-man band researching these subjects?
Generally, up until recently, everything was like solo me basically. And like I've had a couple of writers over the years, and I have one right now that I work with. And so he and I do a lot of research together as well. And like I think whoever, you know, when you're sharing the responsibilities to people, if you have a writer working on an episode, you kind of count on them to do the bulk of the research, and then I kind of come in and punch up the script, and I kind of backfill with some other stuff, like more jokes and things like. But yeah, I mean, as far as like how I look at things in wrestling and how I look at things for my channel, I kind of look at things that, yeah, where can I find the humor in things? Where can I find ways to lampoon this or to make a snide comment on that? There's some things that I can't cover the way I normally do it because I can't make jokes about it. In the case of one movie called Grunt, the wrestling movie, people have been asking me to review that for a long time. And every time I try and sit down and like take notes about this movie, it's like, it's actually a really funny movie. And there's nothing I can do to like make it better or like lampoon it. It's just like, it is what it is. So yeah, that's hard. It's hard to find. Sometimes it is hard to find the humor in a certain topic, but I've been doing it long enough. I kind of developed a bit of a knack for it. And yeah, the writers that I work with as well, like who have been helping me the last couple of years, they've been a great help as well because it allows me to just kind of keep doing what I'm doing and not go crazy.
Yeah, I get you. Like that's something I'm slowly learning as I grow my channel. Look, my channel's only tiny at the minute. Is delegation is key. Otherwise, you'll be working yourself to the bone.
That's right. And like, I think that every step I've taken to like help myself has kind of helped. It's helped me in certain ways. And it's also kind of prevented or it's stalled the inevitable burnout. I'm not saying I'm going to burn out anytime soon, but that was a reason I started bringing more people on, was because I felt that it was going to happen. So especially just kind of doing it by myself so much. So now that I've got an editor and I've got a writer and I've got, you know, Jay Biggs, who does a lot of other admin things for me. And he also is learning.
Does the Raw and SmackDown reviews, right?
Yes, Jay of the Raw and SmackDown reviews. And so he's learning more skills as well. And so hopefully I'll be able to run things more smoothly and efficiently. And yeah, more soothing and less stressful for me is kind of the goal.
Yeah. So has there ever been topics that you're like, you've been asked to cover or you've thought about covering and then you've looked into it, say like one that's topical at time of recording is the plane ride from hell. Like, but then you've looked into it and you've been like, I can't cover this because I can't see the funny side of it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, there's like that's happened a couple of times, I guess. Like I said, grunt is a topic where it's like it's already a comedy, it's already pretty good comedy, so it's kind of hard for me to take the piss. But then then there's been like, people have asked me to cover Over the Edge 99 for a classic.
Oh no,
Heart Died. So it's like that one. That's a tricky one for me to review. It's something I've thought about doing, and like. There's other topics that aren't, and like Plane Ride from Hell is a good example. Plane Ride from Hell is interesting because like I knew most of what they talked about on the Dark Side of the Ring special, and there were a couple of details.
I've only seen clips.
Yes, well, there were a couple of details about it that were new to me, and so, but I think. Plane Ride from Hell is something I've actually kind of undercovered, which I think is interesting. It's one of the, when you think about it, it is really one of the bigger scandals in WWE history.
Oh, definitely.
And it's kind of interesting how little coverage it gets. And I think part of it had to do with, whatever NDAs the plaintiffs had to sign once they settled. And it's how so much of it was swept under the rug. But as far as like things I would cover, it's just a matter of me, in a lot of cases, not having gotten to it or having that ability to like think of like, how can we really approach this in the most delicate way or the least tasteless way, I guess the best way to do it for me.
Yeah. So like, we'll call them mockumentaries because that's the only way I can think of describing them. Is the mockumentaries the things that you enjoy more, or is it the day-to-day wrestling reviews?
I love nostalgia a lot more than the current stuff. On the whole, I would have to say it's fun to go back. Like right now, I'm reviewing stuff from like 2001 WWF, and it's
the Invasion, correct?
Yeah, I'm redoing the Invasion storyline, and it's fun to go back and watch this stuff and like how much of it I remember and how much of it I absolutely have like blocked from my memory banks. But yeah, I mean, I guess the best way to call best descriptor, and maybe not mockumentary so much as like long form reviews, because I mean it kind of covers a lot of different things. And then there's the classic reviews every other week. So I guess like, but I think the ones that like I enjoy the most are the ones that have the most gags. Like movie reviews, you have to have a lot of gags laced in there, or like the music videos I used to make, which I haven't made in a long time, and I know I should. Those were really fun to create and to produce and everything. But in my case, the ones in which I put the most creative input in are the ones that I find myself to be the proudest of. Like, don't get as widely seen, and it's a great irony. I wish that people would, appreciate this as much as I do sometimes.
Oh, I've had that. Like with some interviews, like I've had ones that I've been like, this is going to do really well, and then it only gets so and so views. But then one that's been rushed has got loads of views. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And like, yeah, some of the videos that took off for my channel are ones I never expected them to, and then they just kind of did. Like the countdowns I started doing when I used to not do countdowns as a rule. I thought, I think what?
Why do you do top 8s instead of top 10s?
The reason I did my first top 8 was because I was too lazy to come up with 10, and so that's basically what it was. And now it's like it's something that's a little bit different. No one else really does 8. So I do kind of cheat a little bit. And every once in a while I'll do like honorable mentions that kind of like fill it up to 10 or 11 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, and now it's like my thing. So I kind of got to stick with it. But yeah, I don't know. I used to not do countdowns for the longest time because I was in the camp of, like listicles or cheap content. And it's like, it's not, I didn't think at the time they were very interesting, but then like the first count that I did and saw the numbers compared to other ones, like, okay, clearly there's something to this. So now I have to like do more of them. So that was something that I had to learn early on for the channel for sure.
This is going to sound like a really, really strange question. Do you consider yourself still a wrestling fan, or is wrestling just part of your job?
No, I consider myself a fan still. There's a lot of things I still kind of like, I guess the term mark out. I still mark out for a lot of things, and I still really enjoy watching a lot of different wrestling products out there, and I still just enjoy the spectacle. Like when it's fun and when it's like kicking on the right cylinders, it's like there's nothing like it. And every once in a while I find myself kind of like I'll find myself in that position where I am kind of wrapped up in a match or a storyline, and that still happens. So I am first and foremost still a fan. I just happen to have channeled my fandom into my career, which is
So when it comes to your, is business relationship the right term with Ring of Honor?
Well, yeah, that's what it is, because it's not a personal relationship. But yeah, it's something I've worked with them for about 2 years now.
How did that come about?
Oh, I just went and asked. I think I was messaging Ian Riccaboni, just kind of out of the blue, because like I think he liked some of my content, and so we started trading messages back and forth, and like, hey, like, is there room for a manager in Ring of Honor? Because that's like what I was primarily doing was I was the influencer and all that. And so they said, no, not really, but like you can send something to the people in charge anyway. And I sent my manager a reel. And it turns out that like the people who were in charge at ROH like were fans of mine already. Like they were aware of my stuff and like they liked it. And so that was very helpful to get my foot in the door. So then I started doing the backstage interviews and the countdown segments on their TV. And yeah, like we're still going strong. I was off for a lot of the pandemic when they were still kind of like doing the skeleton crew at the bubble. But
was
now
that and if you don't want to answer this, I appreciate that. Was that a personal choice or was that their choice?
Oh, it was their choice, because like there was, like I said, it was a skeleton crew at the beginning where it's like they were working with a very limited number of people. And so it just made sense because I was the only person on their broadcast team who was not within driving distance or flying distance to Baltimore. I was over here in Rio, Nevada. Everyone else who, like Ian lives in Pennsylvania, and Quinn McKay lives in Baltimore, and Caprice lives in North Carolina. So they're all really close to Baltimore and everything. So, and Bobby Cruz is in Massachusetts. So they didn't need me, and that was fine. And then like once things started expanding again, then I'm back into it. So yeah, I've been a part of their shows again since, I'm trying to remember which, I think it was the taping before, it was after 19th anniversary. So that's my stance on it. So that's where I think it was, but it's been great to be back on the road with them again. And we just came back from the Philly trip, and that was a lot of fun, a lot of great wrestling.
Was that for Death Before Dishonor?
Yeah, Death Before Dishonor on Sunday, and then we did the TV tapings for the next 2 days afterward, and that was a lot of fun. In fact, I'll do a little preview or a little tease here that I'm just finishing editing up a video I shot when we were in Philadelphia, where me and some other people from ROH did the one chip challenge, which is a very spicy tortilla chip, and basically whoever lasts the longest without like grabbing the milk is the winner. But that one's going to come out in the next couple of days, and I'm pretty happy with it. That
may have gone up by the time this goes up, because this isn't going up for a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay. So by this point, the video will have gone up. So I hope you enjoyed that video, folks.
Mm-hmm. How long we got, man? Like, because I've got questions, but if you need to go, like, let me know, sort of thing. 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. So how do you think working in the wrestling environment, product, whatever word you want to use, has either heightened your fandom or lessened it, in the sense of working with Ring of Honor?
I think
how much of a Ring of Honor fan were you before you started working with them?
I was going to say, working with Ring of Honor has made me a much bigger fan of Ring of Honor. Honestly, I didn't know too much about the product in recent years until I was able to kind of like inquire about the job. And that's when I kind of like backfilled and kind of like did some research on some of the more recent goings on. I think like being a professional like wrestling YouTuber to talk about wrestling for a living, and also working like in the business, either having been a manager and now working as a broadcaster for ROH, it changes how I watch wrestling. It doesn't doesn't really add or diminish to my fandom. It just changes how I watch the product of anyone's product. It changes how I see them wrestle and how I see TV produced and how interviews are done and all that stuff. So it's my fandom is still, I guess, relatively strong because there's still a lot of things out there that I enjoy about wrestling today. And I still, of course, love to go back and watch older stuff. So yeah, I consider myself still a fan, and I don't think necessarily being a professional has changed the fandom at all, but it's kind of altered it in a way.
I understand, but is there like, can you watch wrestling for fun still, or is wrestling too much part of your job?
Oh yeah, I still watch wrestling for fun every now and then. Like before it went 2 hours, I would watch NXT as my recreational show. I was kind of like, I can turn off, my review hat or goggles or whatever, and watch the show and just kind of watch it just to enjoy the spectacle. Excuse me. Every once in a while, I will watch some other shows just because I watched Talking Shopomania 1 and 2, just watched those as a fan and didn't care about reviewing them. I still can do that, or I've gone to house shows and just kind of watched and enjoyed. So it's possible, but like I said, just like all the knowledge and all the experience that I've acquired just kind of changes how I consume wrestling and how I interpret it when I watch it.
Yeah, I understand. So like, what is your ultimate goal with Wrestling with Regret then? Is it to...
My ultimate goal of Wrestling with Regret is to make enough videos that I get enough residual income despite doing no new videos for a while, and just living off that residual income and just kind of like, it was nice to leave it there. But again, that's not anytime soon. That's like, and I don't know, because I'm getting off right the last couple of weeks. So I don't know when the bottom's going to fall out for me, folks. But I just lost another video today, actually, just got blocked. So no copyright strikes yet. But the goal is, just keep on keeping on with this channel. Like, do it until I'm tired of it or until I decide to do something different. I don't know if I'm ever going to I don't know if I'm going to stay doing wrestling YouTube for the rest of my earning years. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube or on some other platform or on some company. I just don't know at this moment. But if I can just keep Wrestling with Regret going, if I can go for another 2 years of Wrestling with Regret, that would be great, because it'll be my 20-year high school reunion, and I can go there and I'll be like, yes, that's me. I'm the guy.
That's really cool.
Because I just started the channel at around my 10-year reunion, and so it's like that was just kind of hadn't blown up yet, and so I'll come back 10 years later and see how but those are all kind of superficial, silly goals for me. I just want to keep producing at a level that I am comfortable with and that people will enjoy for a very long time, and just have fun while I'm doing it.
As we wrap this up, because obviously I want to be respectful of your time, a question that I always end on, because I know a lot about you, and because you've got quite a big fan base, I'm sure people know your favorite match, your favorite wrestler, etc. So as we wrap this up, a question that I always end on is, what with YouTube, obviously we're all going to live forever in some ways, provided that videos don't get taken down or blocked or whatever. So what is one video that if people want to know your content, you're like, I'm really proud of that, go check that out? And then what is one that you're like, I've grown a lot since then, please don't watch that, if that makes sense?
I guess the video that I'm most proud of and I would want people to kind of remember me by would be something like Heroes of Wrestling, the video I did with Adam Blampier many years ago, or actually I think the Ultimate Deathmatch reviews, which I'm working on the third one as we speak. And I think covering that trilogy has been an unexpected delight. And I really want people to see, I think that the height of my writing abilities and my ability to riff on shitty movies. I think this is my magnum opus is this trilogy here. So as far as the videos I wish people wouldn't see of mine anymore, probably the rant I did on Joe Rogan about 5 years ago, or 6 even. I think that needs to probably be amended, as well as like this video I did around the same time called No More Hijacking. I feel that my stance on that's I don't even think people watch it anymore because I don't get any comments on it. So I don't know what happened to it. But those are probably the ones I would probably pick for either of those sides. Yeah.
Okay. Like, to be honest, man, I think that's a really cool way to end it. So obviously I want to say thank you to my guest, Brian from Wrestling with Regret, for coming on. Where can the people find you if they're not already familiar with you, Brian?
Yeah, well, first of all, you can find me on Twitter at ZManBrianZane, Instagram at Brian Zane. Then you've got Facebook.com/WrestlingWithRegret. You can find me on Patreon as well, same words at the end, and ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestlingWithRegret. So those are all the different ways you can find me or buy my stuff. Actually, also I'm on Cameo as well, so check that out. And yeah, that's the way you can find me. And of course, the big thing is YouTube, Wrestling with Regret. It's, we're at 320,000 subscribers now, or some crazy thing, which is something I never expected to get. And it's still going strong after 8+ years, which I can't believe that much time has passed.
Did you think you'd be like, I shouldn't ask another question, but I'm just curious to know this. Did you think you'd be doing it for this long?
No, I did not. In fact, about 2 years in was when I was going to stop originally. Cause I'm like, well, I've had a good run, whatever. It's like, it's been fun, but I got to, go home and be a family man and that stuff. And then all of a sudden the channel blew up and was getting more subscribers and making money. I'm like, oh, I can never take a break again. I can never stop now. So that's kind of how it's been. And only now in the last year or so, I finally embraced like taking some time off every once in a while and taking time for myself, which still gets a bit of backlash from the community, it turns out, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, but that's one thing I love about you, like your content, is sometimes you'll just see a tweet go out where you're like, I'm not reviewing this because I don't want to.
It's true. Sometimes I don't feel like it. People will ask, what about this? No, I don't care. I don't have the time and I don't have the worry. So
fair enough. I think that's a lovely way to end it, to be honest, man. And obviously, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to me because I would love to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. Obviously, check out Brian in all the stuff that he mentioned beforehand. Leave a like on this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye.